Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Community Access. This week, we visited with the 15th Annual Roy and Bud Lester Memorial Golf Scramble on Saturday, August 4th. Then we visit with Christian Schultz from the KMS Tree Service, and finally, George from Wojo's Garden, all today at our Community Access.
As we recognize the service of America's men and women in uniform, let's also honor the families who sacrifice so much every day. As the service member serves, so does the family. Do you really want to honor a veteran? Look for ways to support their families and thank them for their sacrifices. Go to legion.org/honor-veterans to find out how you can help.
Welcome back. The 15th Annual Roy and Bud Lester Memorial Golf Scramble was done on the 4th of August. Believe it or not, they have been doing this for 15 years, and they have packed Oxford Hills year after year, and they have a shot of passing $50,000 raised for the American Cancer Society. Now with the story is our reporter, Terry Stiles.
Hi, Bill. I'm at Oxford Hills Country Club, and it's a gorgeous day, and we are here for a very special purpose today. There's a golf outing going on, and I am with Lon Lester. Lon, tell me about the outing and why we're here.
Sure. Well, the outing started 15 years ago. It was in memory of my Uncle Roy, who died of lung cancer, and we started that after his death, and it started with 20 people. And it just started as a family event, and now 15 years later, there's 152 golfers here, and we raise a lot of money for the American Cancer Society. So what we do is, at the end of the day, all the proceeds we donate to either the American Cancer Society or a special honoree. 6 years ago, we started to take a portion of the proceeds and have a special honoree, and then take a portion of those and give it to them directly. And that was more of to make sure that we're making a direct impact on those individuals. So it's been a great event.
Now, the honorees, are they local people, or how does that, all of us know somebody that is battling or has been in that battle.
Yes.
How does that person benefit? How do you choose that person?
Yeah. Well, my uncle died 15 years ago of lung cancer. My grandfather died when I was young of lung cancer, and then my father died, it was in 2007, so it'll be 6 years this October. So when he passed away, that's when we kind of started this special honoree thing. So the way we choose it is a lot of the players in this event come here year after year, and the first year we did it, I happened to know someone from our church. It was a young girl. She was 11 years old, and then what happens is when people donate or put in their money to play, I always say, hey, if you have a nominee, let me know. And we've come up with nominees, and then we kind of choose who that best person is, and then go from there.
Unfortunately, you probably get a handful every year, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, but the first 4 years, I believe it's the first 4 years, it's usually children, and then my cousin Vicky, who's been in this forever. Actually, her father was my Uncle Roy. She came down with ovarian cancer last year, so she was a special honoree. And then this year, it's a lady with breast cancer who is also affiliated with one of the individuals at golf year after year.
And Vicky's doing okay?
Vicky's doing very well. Yeah, she's still in treatment. It's been, a little over a year and a half now, I believe. But she's doing well in battling through it. So.
And the purpose of donating to a family that's going through this is to help them with the financial burden that they get?
Yeah, what we thought is American Cancer Society is a great society. When my father was going through his treatments and his battles, I reached out to them. We had already been doing this for close to 9 years, and they were very helpful. They got me trials, names of trials that were out there. But what we sat back and we said, okay, let's take a portion of that and make a direct impact on a family. And so this is really, we try to say, okay, people that are going through the battle, that need some financial support, may not have health care, and that, really we really just give a cash donation and to help them through those hard times. So it's been very well received on our donor or honoree board. We keep track of who those honorees are, and I'm happy to say that all but one have gotten through it, are either in remission or battling through. Unfortunately, one of them we lost, but it's a great cause, and I do think it's a good thing we're doing.
I think that emotionally, knowing that they have that kind of support has got to help them in their treatment.
Yeah, I think so. If nothing else, it lets them know that there's a lot of people out there behind them, a lot of people that otherwise they don't realize are thinking of them. Because again, we get 144 people show up here, and a lot of these folks don't know these special honorees, but they say, here, put this in the kitty, for so and so, whoever that happens to be that year. So I don't think it matters who you are. Everyone has been affected by cancer, and we send out a letter every year. Everyone has been affected, and if you haven't been affected directly, it has affected your family. So I think, again, it doesn't matter if you know the individual. You know what they've gone through. The impact it has, and I do. When my father was diagnosed, and they said he has cancer, you know what that feels like, and so people are very willing to reach out and help out. And I got to tell you, Oxford Hills, we come here year after year because they do such a great job, and they let us get away with a little more than the norm. And also the participants come here year after year after year. And a lot of these people, well, the 20 of them have been here since 15 years, but many of them have been here 10, 12 years. And they keep coming back. Now they mark it on their calendar. We fill this golf course, and it's pretty incredible. And it's not about the people that put it together. It's about the folks that come out year after year, because we put it together, but it doesn't happen if the participants don't show up.
Right. So how did the day go? It's not quite over yet, but how was golfing today?
Well, it was a great day. It was beautiful weather today. Usually it's 90 degrees and very humid. Today was beautiful. Went very well. Again, we had a full house. The Cancer Society, American Cancer Society, is out here today, giving us some recognition for 15 years straight. They had mentioned to us that we're their longest running, we're a third-party private event, and they mentioned that we are the longest event in terms of how many years we've been doing it, and they're largest in terms of donations. So they're here to give a little recognition to the participants. So.
Well, bravo for you.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate that this event is held in this community. It just shows the support that people are willing to give. Not a good club to belong to if you're fighting cancer. I just really appreciate seeing all these people out here supporting people that do. Thank you for doing this.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate it. And again, we've been doing this for 15 years, and all I can say is that it means a lot to our family, but it also means a lot to, we always say this, it started out with 20 people, just our direct family. It's an extended family of people that just come out. Now it's just friends having a good time and putting a little money towards the Cancer Society, and it's a great cause.
Well, Lon, if people do want to get involved in this because they will see this interview, how can they get in touch with you to maybe participate next year, or if they just want to donate for support?
Yeah. Well, it's always the first full weekend in August. We have flyers up here in the clubhouse at Oxford Hills, but I'll tell you that it's full, and now there's a waiting list, a long waiting list. So that's going to be difficult. But what I didn't mention, and is very important, is our sponsors. And we're not a big corporate event. There is no one company behind us. Literally, we're a family that goes out and knocks on doors. My cousin Ricky, Lorna, friends, Literally go and knock on doors. So it's a lot of the businesses around Oxford and Orion that donate to this thing that makes it happen. Inside, there's a huge donor for door prizes, and there's a lot of other companies that just give donations. So it's very, very important. And so if you'd ask that, I would say, hey, just keep giving. When we come knocking on the door, which we will, we really appreciate it. We have their names listed all across the golf course, and that's the one thing that they can do. Is if that's what really makes it special, is we have these nice door prizes and these contributions that then we can turn around and give to the Cancer Society. So that's the one thing everybody can do.
And then if they want to do that or participate throughout the year, they can call here and find out how to do that as well, right?
Yeah, again, closer to the event, if they want to, we'll have our flyer out here, and we do whole sponsors. And when we go around, we'll ask for whole sponsors. So the whole sponsors, that money goes directly to either the Special Honoree or the American Cancer Society. And so that's really the best way to go about it.
All right. Well, you heard it. Such a happy group of people for such a serious disease. Great event. I think that it's a beautiful success, and thank you. Bill, I'm going to go look around and talk to some of those people.
Good job, Terry. Next up, Terry visited with Christian Schultz of KMS Tree Service. Terry?
First of all, Bill, I am out at Oakwood Park, that park, little-known park in the township that every time I drive by, nobody's here, so I really want to get people to come out here and explore this park. It's just on Oakwood Road. But with me today is a former Oxford resident, basically grew up here. His family still lives here, and he is pretty well known in the tree industry. With me today, Bill, is Christian Schultz, and he is an arborist, but not just an arborist, and I don't mean to diminish just an arborist, but what is interesting to me, and I think the community, is people do trim trees. People care for their trees. People then go a step further and hire tree care workers and arborists. Can you kind of, number one, explain the difference between just trimming your tree and actually being a tree care specialist?
I've always felt that trimming a tree is just a job, no matter who really does it. I really feel that pruning is something of an art and a science, and something that takes on a great deal more care.
Because it's a living entity, correct? And if it's not done right, what can happen to a tree?
It can go into shock, and it can go into dieback. Any number of things can happen, and some pruning is designed to do just that. Like, for example, fruit tree pruning is designed to shock trees into heavy reproduction, and that's what trees do. They are reproducing.
So in that line, when is a good time to trim a tree or have specialists come out and prune them?
There are pruning restrictions on certain species of trees. I know that in Michigan, there's a pruning restriction on oaks. If we prune during the warm season, there's the risk of spreading the disease called oak wilt, and that can shut down a historic oak inside of 5 weeks in some cases. Elms should not be pruned during the summer either. Typically, after a good frost and until late March is a good window to prune.
You've been really busy, I know, trimming and tree climbing and cutting and all over the country, and we'll get to that in a minute. But mostly right now, what tree care workers are doing are salvaging trees from storms, correct?
Yeah, storm work is a very, repairing storm damage and making trees safer after a storm comes through is a very popular practice. It's big business in some sectors.
Speaking of that, you did own your own business, KMS Tree Care, in this area. However, you have moved on from there. Can you explain the transition? And what I'm getting to is the big event that you're leading up to this weekend.
Well, the big transition for me was that I knew arborists. I was fortunate enough to know arborists from all over the world. And I got a call from Springfield, Missouri. There was an ice storm that had come through and destroyed probably about 70% of the trees in Springfield. And I went there to help and also to work during the winter in 2007, and that's where I met my now wife, Meg. And so that was a major transition in my career, and that's when I sold my business here in Michigan in my home and moved to Missouri. But I still have very strong roots here in the Oxford-Orion area, so I come back here whenever I can to work and to visit family, and I still have very close ties to the industry, not only here, but I'm fortunate to have ties all over the United States and Hawaii as well.
Well, that's because you've gone beyond working in the tree care industry as a tree care worker, a tree specialist, tree trimmer. You have now become credentialed. So it's a whole world that I don't think the general public really understands. Can you explain that a little bit? Your credentialing and now what you're doing at these tree events.
You know, there is nothing wrong with punching a time clock and being a tree person, whether you're working on the ground, whether you're operating equipment, climbing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think, like many, many trades, there are opportunities to advance and take it to a rocket science level if that's what your choice is. And I've been very, very fortunate to be able to do that throughout the last 22 years. I started out just punching clock like many people do, dragging brush for 2 climbers at the same time, and they worked me pretty hard. But I finally asked for some training. The first time I saw someone safely rappel out of a tree, that's when I knew I was pretty hooked.
Okay, so you did have to go through, however, a lot of training. Yes, on the job training, but you did studying. You've had to pass a certain level of tests to become the quality and level of tree care specialist that you are, number one. And didn't you do some rescue work? And then please lead me up to this event that you're going to in Toronto this weekend.
Well, you know, I've been a certified arborist for a long time. Now, the International Society of Arboriculture set forth a credential called the Certified Arborist Program, and it's where you have to show at least 3 years in the field or a certain degree, and you have to apply to take the exam, and you have to take a pretty lengthy exam, and if you pass, then you're a certified arborist. There's many, many certifications. Like in many trades, I'm certified as a certified tree care safety professional. That's another credential that I'm really very proud of. That's something that means a great deal to me. The certified tree care safety professional is more of a coaching tool than it is an enforcement tool. If enforcement was working, I don't think that we would have as many accidents as we do in the industry. Many of these, the International Society of Arboriculture also hosts many, many tree climbing championships, and this coming weekend is the International Tree Climbing Championship in Toronto. And that event is moved from major cities all over the world. It was in Australia once, in Hawaii, St. Louis, Chicago. It's held many different places, and this year it's in Toronto, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a technician in one of the disciplines called secured footlock. It's an ascent method where a climber doesn't actually make contact with the tree. They ascend on rope only and ring a bell at 12 meters and 15 meters respectively.
An event that you once took a place in, I have to say, right?
I did. When I first started competition tree climbing, the competition didn't mean nearly as much to me as it meant. It just felt like a big family reunion. It was one day out of the year where I could be close to other like-minded climbers that were advanced, that were eager to learn, that wanted to share and support each other. And once I took Michigan and represented at the World Championships in Montreal, and while that meant a great deal to me, as soon as I saw the setup people, that's where my real passion was. When I saw people setting up and tearing the event down, for some reason that just meant so much more to me. And after that, and ever since, I've always volunteered for that event. I don't really wish to compete anymore. I guess maybe let the kids have their fun.
And you started it, speaking of kids, you started when you were 20.
I was 26. And by some standards, I might be a late bloomer, but to me, 26 seemed like the perfect age to get into the industry. I'm still in close contact with many of the people that have been generous enough and patient enough to teach me. Maybe some people wouldn't appreciate this, but the tree care industry is something of a hotbed of people that deal with attention deficit, because it helps us manage attention deficit disorder, and I think it's right-brained, in that it requires a great deal of problem solving and creativity, and it helps us.
And physical focus.
Yes, very much physical. It's very physical, and it helps us. Many people with ADD and ADHD have the gift of hyper-focus, and I'm no exception to that. Many of my colleagues deal with it.
Well, I really did want to explore that there's a world behind the world. We see so many tree care services in the community, and especially this time of year. And I do have a little bit of an understanding that there is more to it than those guys just hiking up a tree. And cutting your limbs down. I mean, there's a science to it that this entire industry, for the most part, as a rule, takes very special care and pride in, correct?
I think there is a great deal of pride, and many of the shifts that I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of changes in the industry over the last 22 years, and probably the one that means the most to me is that I really think that it's safer and that culturally people are looking out more.
To bring this back to the general public, I really wanted to explore the behind the scenes, but bring it back to the general public for our information and our knowledge. So if we have some tree issues, even if we have some concerns, call our local tree care specialist rather than try to do it ourselves, correct?
I think so too, especially anything off the ground. There are many, many accidents involving, there's many accidents involving ladders, and they're very, very dangerous. As soon as my feet leave the ground, I feel much more secure if I am on rope. I don't get up on a roof for any reason without some sort of tie-in mechanism, some sort of fall protection. I just don't do it anymore. Ladders can be so dangerous, and there are so many ways that you can make a ladder-type prune safer. But I guess this isn't a training session. In brief, tie the ladder off and have a spotter.
Or call a tree care service, right?
Call a tree care service, yes.
And the best way to do that,
I think it's important to call a certified arborist as well. I feel that that's very important because it's a standard of education and training.
that was going to be my next question. Next question is the tree care events that they have, this national tree care event. That's not just for tree care workers, that's for the general public, correct?
They are, and all of the events are free to the public. Any tree climbing championship, the Michigan Tree Climbing Championship is coming up in September. That's going to be in Kensington Park, and that's September 13th. And the event is free to the public, and it's very, very educational. Typically, a tree climbing championship is centered around sharing, learning, and having fun.
Sharing information with the public, because that's what got me curious about this whole world, besides knowing you. Phil, I hope that was interesting to everybody else. I've always been really curious about getting this information out to the public. It is a whole world that safety does come first with them. And I also believe when I go by people's houses and I see people just sawing at a tree, I know that Christian is very concerned about the condition of the tree, the health of the tree, prior to him even climbing up into it. So if that helps you, I'm really glad. And also if you need work done around your yard, please call. We have so many local tree care specialists. Look online, but call them first. They'll come out, will they not, and just give you an estimate of what it takes to get it done in your yard?
Yes, any tree service can come and do. I would get more than one opinion, and I would especially look for an ISA certified arborist. I feel that's very important.
Thanks for the information, Christian, and thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Back to you, Bill.
Now that was interesting, and a very nice man. Now it's time for Wojo's Garden Center. George?
Good afternoon and welcome back to Wojo's Greenhouse and Garden Center here in Ortonville. I'm George and I'm surrounded by hydrangea plants. This is one of the favorite shows I do each season, talking about the various types of hydrangeas and giving suggestions for how you can be successful with them. First one I'm going to talk about is the climbing hydrangea vine over here on the left side of the screen. These take several years to get established, but once they take off and go, they do very, very nicely. They have a suckering mechanism, so they will affix themselves to the side of a building, either wood or brick, and they have a very, very nice flower. They will go in sun or shade. Actually, they like shade a little bit better. Another variety of hydrangea goes by the lace leaf hydrangeas, or within the serrata grouping. This is one called Bluebird. It happens to be a pink bird because, again, the soil is such that if you want a pink bird, you leave it alone. If you want a bluebird, you have to add the soil acidifier to it. It is known for its lacy, flat leaf, or flat flower, and again, very, very attractive. This does best in a shady spot, also best with some winter protection. It has a tendency to lose its flower buds in the spring, so if we get a frosty night in April or May, you want to cover these to protect the flower buds. The next two that I have within the smooth hydrangea variety. First of all, the old-fashioned Annabelle. This is a younger plant. Normally these will get 3 to 4 feet tall with their nice white flowers about the size of a cantaloupe. This is the old-fashioned one that's been around for a long time, the smooth Annabelle hydrangea. Proven Winners has come up with a variety that's very similar but with improvement of larger flower, sturdier stems, and it's called Incrediball. So we have both the Annabelle and the Incrediball here at the store. They like the shade, but they will also go in a sunny spot. Next plant is the oak leaf hydrangea. Getting its name, if we take a look at the leaf, resembling an oak leaf, beautiful cone-shaped flower, normally starting off white. These are beginning to show signs of fall coming with a pink tinge to the side. These like, again, a protected spot, as do many of the other hydrangeas. An eastern exposure is ideal. A little bit of winter protection, and this will be one magnificent plant. The next grouping are the big leaf hydrangeas. This is an example of a big leaf. This one is called Mini Penny. It has the round flower. I have another variety up here called Pia. This is a smaller version, and these are finicky. They need winter protection, and they need some shade to perform best. You can again change the color of the flower. If it's a acid soil, they'll be blue. Without that, alkaline soil, they will be pink. Then comes along the Endless Summer. Endless Summer was a group of plants starting off first of all with the original Endless Summer. This is a big leaf variety. It has a flower that will either be blue or pink depending upon the soil. The second flower within the Endless Summer series was Blushing Bride. This is a predominant white flower with a slight tinge of either pink or blue dependent upon the soil type. And last in the Endless Summer series is Twist and Shout. This incorporates the lace cap flower of the serrated varieties, but in the Endless Summer grouping. All of these need protection in the springtime. If we get a frosty night again in April or May, protect them to preserve the bud. I didn't do that with mine this year, and my Endless Summer has about 3 flowers on the bottom of the plant. The rest of it's great leaves, looks very healthy and robust, just no flowers. The next grouping of plants are the paniculata grouping of hydrangeas, or the PG hydrangeas. And some of the varieties we have are basically within the Proven Winner collection. This is a brand new one called Bobo. This stays 2 to 3 feet tall with a nice white cone-shaped flower. I have Little Lime. This is the little sister of Limelight. This gets 3 to 5 feet tall, lime green flower that will turn pink in the fall. In the back, I have Pinky Winky. This starts off with a white cone-shaped flower that starts getting pink down at the bottom. I have Vanilla Strawberry that starts off white and then gets a nice pink blush to it. And then what we see in this mass behind us are the Limelight hydrangeas, probably our most popular hydrangea and very easy to grow. These are what the flowers look like when they're dried. They make a wonderful dried flower for in the house. We also have the tree form of the hydrangeas. This happens to be Limelight. Over here I have Pinky Winky. I wanted to talk briefly about the aluminum sulfate to acidify the soil. If you've got Japanese beetles, either the Captain Jacks or the 8, and now with the beginning of August we start having deer issues with the deer, the bucks rubbing their antlers on the trees, the vinyl tree guards, and or the repels all or the liquid fence. So this is our sampling of hydrangeas, a wonderful selection here at Wojo's. Come on over and see us. See you soon.
Well, that's all the time for this week. We hope you enjoyed our program. So, for our reporter and editor, Terry Stiles, I'm Bill Service, and you have a great, great day.